Imagine reading an epic novel with billions of letters. Suddenly, the printing press makes a single tiny mistake, a random typo. In most books, this ruins the sentence, but in this specific story, that random typo accidentally rewrites the entire plot, creating a masterpiece. This is exactly how humanity as we know it was born. We are not the result of a perfectly planned biological blueprint. We are the product of a series of random genetic accidents, literal typos in our DNA code that just happen to give us absolute dominance over this planet. If you look at human beings objectively, we are physically quite pathetic compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. We don't have sharp claws to defend ourselves, thick fur to survive freezing winters, or muscles dense enough to wrestle apex predators. Human babies are born essentially helpless and need years of constant care just to survive. Yet here we are. We build sprawling cities, split the atom, and fly helicopters on Mars. This massive leap from a vulnerable ape to the rulers of Earth didn't happen smoothly. It was triggered by bizarre anomalies that hijacked our biological destiny. Evolution is often misunderstood as a neat, forward-moving ladder with a clear goal. In reality, it's a blind, automated script running endless lines of code. When cells copy billions of letters of DNA from one generation to the next, they frequently make copy-paste errors. Most of these bugs break the system or cause fatal diseases. But every once in a while, a genetic crash accidentally unlocks a revolutionary new feature. Today, we are going to trace three of the most crucial genetic accidents in human history: the weakening of our jaw, the folding of our brain, and the hijacking of our voice. Around 2.5 million years ago, our hominid ancestors had a skull structure remarkably similar to modern apes. They possessed incredibly powerful lower jaws, driven by massive chewing muscles that wrapped completely around the top of their heads. These heavy muscles were essential for grinding through tough roots, raw meat, and fibrous leaves all day long. Their skull acted like a thick, rigid anchor to withstand the extreme pulling force of these muscles. Because of this, the bone was literally trapped. The brain inside was locked in a tight cage, with absolutely zero room to grow. Everything changed because of one completely random mutation. In 2004, a team of researchers led by Dr. Hansel Stedman discovered that a muscle-building gene called MYH16 broke inside our ancestors. This genetic typo stopped the production of thick muscle fibers, meaning our ancestors suddenly developed a very weak bite. At first, this seems like an evolutionary disaster for a wild animal. But the shrinking of these massive muscles finally released the mechanical pressure on our skull. Without that heavy muscle anchor clamping it down, the human cranium was suddenly free to expand, creating empty storage space for a bigger brain. However, just having a bigger garage doesn't automatically mean a larger car will park inside it. We needed another genetic accident to fill that new empty space inside our heads. This brings us to a radical mutation involving a bizarre gene called ARHGAP11B. This specific gene is entirely missing in all other living apes. It didn't evolve slowly over time. It appeared purely from a copy-paste error where an old piece of DNA duplicated itself incorrectly and started running a completely new set of instructions. In 2015, researchers at the Max Planck Institute, led by Wieland Huttner, figured out exactly what this glitch does. It acts like a biological multiplier, forcing the stem cells inside a fetal brain to divide and multiply at an explosive rate. Because of this runaway cellular division, our neocortex grew so fast that even our newly expanded skull couldn't contain it. To fit inside the limited space of our head, the surface of the brain was forced to fold, wrinkle, and cramp itself into the dense, walnut-like shape we have today, packing in billions of extra neurons. But a massive, densely packed brain brings up another problem. To wire all those billions of neurons correctly, our brain development had to be drastically slowed down. This was caused by yet another glitch: the duplication of a gene called SRGAP2C. This mutation essentially slammed the brakes on our brain maturation process. Instead of being born with hardwired instincts like a baby horse that can run immediately, Human brains are kept in a highly flexible beta testing mode for years. This biological delay is known as neoteny, and it gives our neurons the time to grow millions of extra connection points. Because our brains mature at such a ridiculously slow pace, our childhood is stretched out much longer than any other primate. While this makes human children incredibly vulnerable, it creates a massive window of opportunity. During these long, formative years, our highly flexible brains can absorb complex cultural rules, learn specialized skills, and adapt to completely new environments before the neural pathways permanently harden. We traded the safety of fast physical growth for the ultimate superpower of lifelong learning. So, we have a broken jaw muscle that unlocked the skull, a copy-paste error that exploded our brain size, and a delayed timer that let those neurons connect. This biological machine is brilliant. But there is a massive paradox here. No matter how smart an individual brain is, it is completely useless if it's trapped inside a silent skull. If you can't share your brilliant ideas with anyone else, your intelligence dies with you on the savannah. The final piece of the human puzzle arrived with a tiny mutation in a gene called FOXP2. Discovered in the early 2000s by researchers at Oxford University, this is famously known as the language gene. Every mammal actually has a version of FOXP2, but the human version suffered two critical microscopic changes in its code. This random alteration radically rewired the motor control circuits in a part of our brain called the basal ganglia. It gave us absolute, precise control over the high-speed movements of our lips, tongue, and vocal cords, turning primitive grunts into articulate speech. This newfound ability to speak articulate words became a wireless bridge between invisible minds. When the universe combined these random anomalies in one single species, it created a historical turning point. The expanding skull provided the hardware, the folded neocortex built the processor, and the mutated vocal cords created a primitive wireless network to transfer data between generations. Without language, a brilliant tool invented by one genius dies with them. But with language, that idea can be copied, taught, and downloaded into thousands of other brains instantly. This was the moment biological evolution stopped and technological evolution began. Ultimately, what makes us a civilized species is not some rigid, perfect cosmic blueprint designed from the start. Our humanity is essentially a byproduct of molecular typos that natural selection accidentally kept around. Our defective jaws, our premature, helpless babies, and our strangely modified vocal cords are all system bugs that compensated for each other. Together, they assembled a complex living machine that can now look back in time and question its own existence. We are living monuments proving that sometimes the worst mistakes in nature can lead to the most brilliant innovations. If you enjoyed exploring the broken source code that makes us human, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next scientific deep dive. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the future evolution of humanity will rely on these random biological accidents, or will we start actively controlling our own DNA through genetic engineering? Your support helps us keep producing heavily researched documentaries. Thank you so much for watching. Stay curious. Bye. And I'll see you in the next video.